It's an introduction. We're doing a little podcast. This was spontaneous, so we don't have anything planned. There's no papers, no scripts.
One take.
Yeah, this might be good, this might be bad. You might hear a lot of car noises and there's something fong in the back, so this might be in. We'll find out.
Let's see.
Welcome to today's podcast, Timbo.
Yeah.
Let's
This
do
is
it.
Abdi.
Yo, what up? Timbo right here. And we're gonna get started. So just a quick update. We were just walking around in the city and we decided to just sit down somewhere here. The view is beautiful. We're just gonna be talking about random stuff.
Abdi watches so many podcasts, so he has to be good at this.
I don't think that's the case, but we'll find out. You said you had a few questions.
Yeah. Well, I reserved a few topics we already talked about so much,
Yeah.
like women, career, business models. But like one thing we touched like by a phone was like you felt it was personal, like we
Right.
dive in right
Straight
away.
Screw it.
Uh,
Authentic.
Yeah, like the solitude. Like, do you feel the solitude? Like, you know, like I think a lot of people in Germany or Western world or in general, I don't know, with the media and everything, people feel alone because they're on their phone and stuff. Everyone is so available. So, like, what was your experience?
I think for me, it's definitely the case, but it depends also at the timing. So I had, let's say during my time in Karlsruhe, I did feel like most of my time I was kind of isolated, just social media, being on the phone most of the time. But the nice thing was there was a big community within Karlsruhe that I got to know through just friends or people that I got to hang out with. So I did feel it, but not as much. But I think that the biggest factor was that family wasn't around. And I think this for me was extremely difficult. I would say maybe it kicked in around the year 2020, where I started feeling that I really miss my family. And I think that at some point, sooner or later, I'm going to have to go back. But at that time, I still felt like there was some tasks that I want or goals that I wanted to achieve before going back, which is finishing the masters, getting some experience done, which I was able to do, and I was thankful enough that it wasn't too difficult, but it was definitely not easy. So that was achieved during my time in Alto. Moving to Kempton was difficult. The time that I met some really amazing people that I'm going to be friends with for the rest of my life, but I still felt that it was very isolating. It was very on my own. I lived with three other people. They were cool, but I just didn't feel this much of a connection with them. I also didn't feel this as much within, or let's say living in the city, except the friends that I met. But still, the family aspect was, I think, very important for me. And since I've been feeling this since 2020, I feel like I at some point need to make this jump where I move back to Dubai just to be close to the family. So that's kind of my.
Okay. So, like, how would you say? Because I feel the same way that it's different being a student than being in the work course. Like, I like to work, but I feel like it can get lonely because everyone is working so much and
Yeah.
identify overworks and stuff. And then after work, maybe it's the easiest to just grab your phone and
Yeah.
relax at home. Whereas you had to go out and do something else because you didn't have the phone capacity. So how would you describe this change? You know, why was camp so much different than being a student?
It's really, like you said, the workforce is actually entirely different than the university. I think there's also an aspect to it where you kind of build a community because you're all going through the same thing. Of being a student, you need to study together after work, after studying, or after going to the classes, and that's not something that you can really do with the work life. I feel like most people prefer to be on their own, even though they still also feel this loneliness. So I think that's the biggest difference between university and work. And also the other thing that I can tell is that university, I mean, I was in Karlsruhe for 6 years, so this was enough of a time to really build a good community. With work, I feel like a lot of the times people move from the communities that they created, whether they are close to family or not. go to a completely new place. Maybe they spend a year or 2 years together. Sometimes I also know people that have this feeling where they don't feel like they can be friends with their colleagues, that it's really just a hard colleague relationship or a work relationship, and not really entirely like a friendly relationship, which I think can be difficult. And also, maybe for me personally, I feel like there is a cultural difference in that sense where, let's say in Arab countries, no, it's actually quite fine to go out with your colleagues. Then also, there is a different level that I actually enjoyed in Germany, where there isn't hierarchy. Any job there or any company there is a hierarchy. But I feel like, of course, I never worked in the UAE before, but I feel like I was able to become close to my boss, and I feel like this would be something that would be hard to get in Dubai. And just as a quick example, when we were both in Cairo, we went out for dinner multiple times, and we really spoke about really deep things. But I feel like maybe in Dubai it wouldn't be the case. So it depends on place to place. But here in Germany, it's definitely a thing where, let's say, after work, you are stuck with this thing that you have to scroll over your phone. You don't know, you don't have anything planned. You finish from work, you go back. You do have maybe your hobbies, but it's also still very solo thing. But yeah, that's how I feel. How would you describe it?
Yeah. I kind of described it while asking the question, which is maybe not so good, like for not priming you.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me it's the same. Like I don't know. I've been to Africa and stuff, and I really like in Africa that you have less materialistically, but somehow people are more happy. So I think about that a lot, like what makes people happy and stuff. And I feel like the more you have like stuff like the zone, you don't have to go out to watch football with
Yep.
friends. Everyone has it in his bed. Like the more you have your own kingdom at home,
Yeah.
the more
And one thing I actually tried doing that helped me out a lot is, I told you earlier, I just go around and walk in the city. And later in the day, around 9 p.m., I just feel like, let's say I have my work time. Sometimes I do home office. Sometimes I'm actually at work, where there is interaction with people, but it's not very deep. It's more of just getting work done. And then I go back home. I spend these few hours at home, um, either on screens or maybe working on stuff, but just very indoors, kind of. But then I usually like to spend the last hour, even though maybe there's not much social interaction during that time. But it's at least one thing that I do, where I just walk around in the city and get some fresh air, get some very simple interactions of just saying hi to people in the street, smiling to people. And honestly, I feel like that on its own already helps out a lot with kind of solving this issue. Yeah.
It sounds so freaky, but like in the end, what's more freaky, like walking around in the world and reading people, or like being on some device and
Yeah.
stuff.
But this helped me a lot. This really helped me a lot. And I would spend a good amount of time. It would be like just an hour of walking around in the city. I don't have any plan of where I want to go. Also, it's to lose weight. It kind of helped out with that. But I don't have a specific place I want to go. Shops are closed anyways. And just walk around. I think the views also in Kempton are actually beautiful. You have a few places that are really pretty. So I just walk around these places, come back. And that really helped a lot. Even being part of nature, there were some times where I'd be like kind of in the woods, and that was something that I would really cherish.
And like what I think I wanna like get down to like two things. Like what do you hope for going back to UAE? Like obviously seeing your family, but like I don't know, maybe also emotional side, emotional fulfillment, emotions, and like what would you advise? From your perspective.
Oh, interesting.
Like I think different cultures, you can
Yeah,
always take a slice from a different culture,
Yeah.
learn from each other.
Yeah.
You don't have to use your core, but I think there's so much you learn when you visit
I
another
agree.
culture and you know both worlds.
Yeah. That's a very good question. I want to answer the first question with just how I imagine differently. And the most important part is the family aspect, is having family around, whether I live with them or not. Of course, I'm going to be living with them at the start for quite some time until maybe I get married, and then I'll have my own place. But just being around family, having this deep careness with the people around you, often that you can always socialize with. When something happens at work, when something happens at any time, have people that you can discuss this with them. Tell them about how you feel. They can support you emotionally. This family feeling where you care about others and they care back. That's something that I feel is really missing here. So that would be like on the family aspect, and just generally having more people that are more similar to me. I think I really miss that. When you're in the UAE, and this is also something that's special with the UAE, is that I feel like people are very welcoming, and I would have hoped that, let's say, I think Germany, with people that you meet, people depending on how close you are to them, they would be more open or not. But I feel like reaching that level in Germany is harder than the UAE.
Break the ice.
Exactly. Well, breaking the ice is fine, but just getting to the level where you are close with each other, you don't really find that often. And I think for me, with actually, I mean, I was talking to my Gonanki yesterday about this. My whole trip that I'm going around, I'm going to be seeing about 3 German friends, and everyone else was international. Just because to actually reach that level where you can get very close with someone from here is not so easy, and it also needs people that are open or have seen other cultures. Like for us, we've known each other for a very long time. We've gone out many times, and that's how this connection was built. So this is something that I noticed with Germany. As for what I would tell Germans, I had a very, very interesting discussion with my boss. So the same thing that I was telling you about earlier. After one of the days with work, we went out together to get something to eat. And we were just, it was of course the first time for my boss too. He has been to Egypt before, but this is the first time where he interacted with people on a personal level, where he really needs to get to know the team, understand how they think and so on. And that's when he started asking me just about differences in the culture between Cairo and Germany. And that's where we reached the conclusion that Germany, just how the structure is like, whether it's good or bad, it's a culture where it's very individualistic. At 18 or when you're at a certain age, you have to get out of your home, you have to live on your own, do things on your own, and so on. And this is really not the case for us. One thing that my boss also noticed just with the Egyptian culture is that people are very friendly, very hospitable, very apologetic when something happens, even when they don't need to be apologizing for things, but they would still apologize. This was also kind of, or just the friendliness of interacting with people. And this is something that I noticed, or I felt at least in myself when I first arrived in Germany. I thought people were rude. It wasn't the case. It's just that this is how the culture is like, and I just had to adapt to it. It wasn't rude at all.
Do you have the next example?
Many.
Location?
Yeah, many.
Like a funny one?
I don't have a funny one, but at least, like, let's say when I go to a restaurant, for example, and I ask something from the waiter, it doesn't feel very welcoming from waiters or waitresses in Germany. And at the beginning, I thought maybe they're rude to me, but then later on, I just realized this is how culture is like. Whereas in the UAE, you'd be treated like a king. Hello, how are you doing? Do you need anything? They'll constantly check on you. And this switch or this difference, again, not talking about whether it's good or bad, it's just a difference that I have to adapt to and really understand. But at least for other cultures, I feel like it would be nice if it's more welcoming, and there are many people, there are many exceptions, but at least the general feeling that I get is that there are cases where people that are not very welcoming, they would yeah, exactly. And again, it's not intended in a negative way. It's just how the culture is like. But I feel like it would be nicer if it's more welcoming. I mean, there's a funny story. I was once in Jordan, in Petra. No, in Wadi Rum. I was with my family. Where Wadi Rum is a place where it's like a red sand. There's no lights there at all, and usually people there go there and they sleep under the night in the sky, and you can see the stars, and it's absolutely beautiful. And I was there, and we were getting ready for food or we were getting ready to have some food, and there was a German couple there. They were a little bit older, but a German couple. And I noticed, of course, and I told my family, look, this is a German couple. I'm gonna be speaking to them just to kind of show off. So I go up to them and I stand next to them, and they're speaking in German, and I go like, oh, how do you like Jordan? They're like, oh, nice. And then we started speaking a bit. but there was no surprise at all that there was someone random in the middle of the desert speaking to them in German, in Jordan, with perfect German. Yeah, in German, in the middle of Jordan with perfect German, or with really good German. And then at the end of the conversation, they asked me, "Oh, how do you know German?" And I told them, if you come over to Dubai or to Cairo and you go "Salaam alaikum" to someone, or say "Hala" or some Arabic word, the amount of excitement that's just going to come from them is unbelievable. They'll give you everything for free just because they heard this from you. And my family couldn't believe that we just spoke as if nothing happened. And I obviously don't look German. I don't look like I'm from there. And I also don't sound very much like I'm German. But there was just no reaction at all. Just in the middle of the desert.
So rational, like,
Exactly.
oh, okay, he can speak
Yeah,
German, so
cool.
he must be have been in Germany
Exactly.
and stuff,
Yeah.
instead of like this emotional reaction
Exactly.
in the moment and stuff.
Yeah. So this is what I would say. Let's say
Emotional
for
connection.
exactly. Yeah, that was the funny experience. My family couldn't believe it. They're like, "What the hell?" But yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm dealing with.
exactly. What would you say, or let's say, dealing with people from other cultures? What do you feel like people can learn most from German? From German.
Germans.
Yeah.
I feel like you have to say that.
I think so. But I want to know what
like
you think.
I can just say that maybe like what I learned from other cultures is the emotional connection and stuff, or like it's not that hard to be a little bit friends. I feel like people here want to be respected and want to not be seen as weak. I feel like being emotional is seen as weak here oftentimes.
Yeah.
It's like you can't control your emotion. You're not able to. So yeah, I just like I lived here in America and I just realized I mean there's a trade-off between being honest and being friendly, and I feel like Germans want to be honest, they don't want to lie to you.
Yeah, that's true.
So they are proud of being honest. So but if you meet someone who's more like, why is he not friendly to me? Like, why is he rude to me? So I just realized it's not that hard to have a little bit of friendliness.
Yeah.
For others, I think it's also respect their point of view and what they're coming from.
Yeah.
Comfortable is rude because you completely ignore way, your rational and stuff. Yeah, for me, what I learned from others is just this friendliness. And what I think maybe other cultures can learn, what I sometimes feel, or what I think when I'm not in Germany, is honest or is okay, I can count on it. I feel like if you have a German friend, he's gonna do a lot for you. Like he's not just gonna be the good guy, or he's just not gonna tell you, hey, it's me. I feel like you can count on them. Like, stick to their word. There's less bullshit. Like when I was in America, that's maybe what I missed a little bit. That people were saying, yeah, let's meet. But it was just like to be friendly.
Yeah.
And don't understand that it's just like small talk.
Interesting.
But you take them literally.
Yeah. That was an interesting thing I also noticed with the work in Cairo. That was the time in Cairo was so interesting for me because that was the first time where I was sitting between two cultures that I completely understand, and I can see the clashes between them. Like there would be times, let's say, my boss would say something during a meeting, and for me it's something normal to say because I've gotten used to the culture. But colleagues in Cairo would find it very surprising or start doubting themselves. Let me think. Like for example, my boss would be, let's say, direct about something. Like this is, I can give you a good example. So let's say someone comes up with an idea, and there would be reactions by Germans saying, "Not bad, nicht schlecht, es geht, passt schon." And saying these things for a German means that, hey, this is not bad. There are no faults.
Compliment.
Exactly. And the translation to this is like this works. There are no issues in it. For a German, this is a huge compliment. To someone in Cairo, it's more like, I don't know if I did well or not.
Yeah.
This is good. Did I do well? And that was
He's not excited.
exactly. And then on the other side, when someone says this doesn't work, for colleagues in Cairo, they go like, "Ooh, am I going to get fired or not?"
Yeah.
But no, not really. This is just from the German side. People are being honest and telling you exactly how they feel. which there's nothing against. But this difference in cultural things, that was also very interesting to me. Another thing that also once happened, my foot is a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Getting uncomfortable.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get up in a bit. I hope it's still recording.
No, no, I still have stop.
Okay. Yeah. So there was one time that happened. This was very interesting to see. I was in a meeting and there was a little bit of tension, and at that time, it wasn't the right time to say anything just because of the tension. But there was a conversation between an Egyptian and a German, an Egyptian colleague and my boss, who is German. And my boss was asking the Egyptian guy to do something, and the Egyptian colleague was agreeing to it, but I can completely, very clearly see that my boss is saying something and the colleague in Egypt was understanding something else. And I just understand this just because I've been in or I've had the experience of dealing with Germans, so I know what they're expecting and what they're not expecting. I didn't say anything at the time, but then when my Egyptian colleague went out, I told my boss straight away, I'm like, listen, you didn't understand what you were talking about. And that was just so interesting to see. And when I went back to my desk, I also told my colleague, you didn't understand what my boss was talking about, so they cleared it out later. And just having this perspective from both cultures, so beautiful, man. And I feel like it's hard to get.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely a special trait that we have.
Yeah.
Everything fits. We're always like an awesome person. If some company, European company or German company wants to make a base somewhere in Arabia,
I got them.
you're definitely the right person.
Yeah.
Like you know what they want.
Yeah.
You can translate it there.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I can really feel because you have a lot of empathy and like you know how to behave socially and stuff. So I can really see that you pick up the small details.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. That was so interesting to see, really. But yeah.
What would you say you learned from Germany?
Oh, so much. Oh my God. 7 p.m. means 7 p.m. That's the first thing I would say. There's no 7 p.m. means 8:30. That doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. Time management was, let's say, the first thing that I learned.
Okay.
Second thing is being strict about work and things that need to be done. And this is just simple clarifying what you need. And this is another thing that I learned, and I don't think I would have learned it if I stayed in Dubai. Another thing is planning ahead. Sometimes planning ahead could be a bit too much, but in many cases, or most of the time, it's very important. Like usually if I'm going to meet someone, I'm going to have to plan with them 3 weeks in advance, and they would like to look in their calendar. That doesn't exist for us. That goes like, hey, I'm coming over to your house. Yeah, cool. You're welcome. And I like both parts of it. I think in some cases it's good to be spontaneous, and in other cases it's good to plan ahead. So that is one major thing that I learned here in Germany. How much people value their personal life here in Germany. I feel like that's very important. There is a huge advantage of being social and being around family, but sometimes you also need your time alone. And I feel like in Germany, whether alone from work or alone from family, and I feel like many people in Arab countries do not get this alone time. And for me, it also took me some time to learn how to spend my alone time on my own, which is also a huge benefit. Now I know, for example, if I go somewhere else, I know how to spend my time on my own. I know that it feels that I'm not really stuck to certain things, and I need this time alone. This is one of the things I think I'm going to struggle with when I go back home, just having some time for myself, which I know I'm not going to have when my mom is cooking me food every single day and all that, which is also great. But this is also another thing that I learned. And there's endless stuff, the importance of sport. For us, we do have a lot of people that are doing sports, and it's increasing, let's say, but majority of people don't do many sports. So that is something that I think is important here. You meet people here that do hiking often, that do biking often, and I'm telling you, I mean, you do sailing also sometimes with your family. So this is something that's very unusual to me, and I've heard, I meet people that do very random sports, and I find that really cool. In the UAE, you don't find that. Many people just do the typical sport, tennis, a few simple stuff.
It's quite hot over there too.
That's true, you can't really go biking.
Indoor.
Yeah. What else? I can keep going. I mean, for us, we have the important nightlife aspect where people stay up late. People will, and throughout the week, where during the week people would sleep at like 1 a.m. on one side because they're spending time with their family, but it's unhealthy. They would sleep very little. Uh, all that structure here is also very something that is very good. That I don't think I would have had back home. I have a very clear structure of how I want my routine to be like. My advantage is that I add a little bit of flexibility where I feel like in most of the time in Germany, people don't have that as much. With the same example of meeting someone 3 4 weeks from today. So yeah, I can keep going. There are so many things I
Yes,
learned from doing it.
that's nice, man. That's so interesting to hear. You know, that you know, man. And I feel like there's always trade-offs. Like
Yeah, yeah,
there's not gonna be the one country that has it all figured
yeah,
out,
exactly.
which has structure and everything,
Yeah,
and is still like emotional and doesn't care.
yeah,
You know, is loose too.
yeah.
So yeah, it's really interesting. And I feel like at the end of the day, it's about like how do you want to live your life. Like
Exactly.
I struggled too when I came back, or just from America to Germany, which is both Western worlds.
Yeah,
Like when I got there, I thought it's basically the same. So yeah, for me it was like when I got back, I felt like oh, like now I miss something which I had there and stuff. So it's weird.
yeah,
You're kind of in between
yeah,
sometimes. Yeah, it's just about how you want to live. Like
yeah,
for me, I like to be emotional too, like
uh-huh.
and be bubbly and stuff.
Yeah,
And then maybe sometimes I get weird looks in office, and like, why is he just saying it, or why is he not behaving and being calm or collected?
yeah.
So, but yeah, I feel like it's just about you see things in the world, and then like how do you want to live that? Or how would you conclude?
I would say so, but I wanted to ask you something first. What did you like about the US?
The US, like that there is a lot of respect and just like kindness and like for example when you go into a coffee shop they tell you what can I get you boss, like you know, and it's just this tiny thing, you know, it just makes you feel good, you know? It's just giving you something, whereas in Germany it's about who's the boss here,
Yeah.
you know, like they want this, make the coffee proper for
Yeah.
me, the other person is like pay or I don't
Yeah.
know. So just like these tiny words, I feel like it's also easier in English somehow to be smooth
That's
and
true.
stuff.
That's true. Yeah.
Like I was in Florida too, like Southern hospitality, like
Yeah.
just hearing "Hey y'all," you know, it's like so inviting and
Yeah.
stuff. It's just like everyone is included and
Yeah.
stuff. I don't know. These subtle words I miss. Just like this basic kindness is not that hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not weakness. I feel like that's what I learned.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, I struggle with sometimes like I think they could learn a little bit more honesty, you know, a little bit more like okay, if I meet someone at the airport and talk with them about 5 minutes, they tell me I made a friend.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, we're not friends,
Yeah.
you know. We will never see each other again.
Exactly.
So like this deepness, you
Yeah.
know, where it means something that you have a friend, it means something, and so on. So I feel like America is even more individualistic than Europe. And I thought it was funny that you said that Germany is individualistic because, like, I was thinking, how does he mean that? Because I feel like in Germany it's about everyone has to do everything the same. It's
Aha,
always like man
yeah.
macht es so, like
Yeah.
you're supposed to do it this
Yeah.
way. Whereas in America it's like okay, this is Abdi, he likes to do it this
Yeah.
way. This is Tim, he likes to do this.
Yeah.
Like it's much more about do as you want.
Okay.
and, like,
Okay. Okay.
I like that, like just do your thing black
Yeah.
and white. Also helps with business, with creating a business, like pursue your dream and stuff. Do your thing. Like here would be like, no, you're supposed to work for a big company
Yeah.
and security and stuff. Security is really big here, but me from my natural, I'm not so big on security, so
Yeah.
I learned that it's fine to pursue your, to do your thing, be you, and yeah, like that's what I really was really obvious to me when I got back. That here it's about that we all have to do everything the same. And now I'm not into
It's
that.
not so important.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
me, I like when you do it that way. He does it that
Mhm,
way.
mhm.
I feel like that helps to connect.
I think so too. I think so too.
That you don't have to like educate people. Like you have to. You're not standing in line. Get back in line. No, like he likes to stand there. I like to stand
Yeah.
here. If you like, I feel like the Americans, and maybe it's the same in UAE, I don't know, but it's less complicated if it's like you do you, I do
Yeah.
me, because I'm not responsible for you.
Yeah.
But I feel like here, if, for example, you forgot that your train exit and you have to rush out of the train, in other countries they would make space for you because they're like, okay, you forgot to get out of the train, but
Yeah.
here it's like, oh my god, like how could you?
Yeah, that's true.
You know, so, and you're like, yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
sorry.
A good example to that is if you're walking on the bike lane and someone's coming and there's space, they can go around you. And of course, you are in the phone, but it's not that crazy.
Yeah.
But if you're not, they could even crash into you and be like,
Right.
what are you doing? But you
Right.
can just go across
Yeah.
and live your own life, and that's it.
Yeah, it's like the rules are the rules.
Exactly, yeah.
Because no flexibility. It's
Yeah.
so yeah, that I learned that it's just fine
Yeah.
not to fit into this, and that's why I also love Africa that
Yeah.
much. Like I feel so nice in Africa, and that's why I feel like I can connect cultures because
Mhm.
I used to be in this exchange when I was 16 and learned like Botswana culture from a like young age or from a teenager for 3 weeks. So there I could connect between the cultures. and
Yeah,
I feel
yeah.
like that's a really nice thing to do. And, yeah, that's why I cherish Africa because there you can just be loose and
What was the most heartwarming thing for you in Botswana?
just arriving and everyone was smiling and saying welcome to
So cool.
Botswana.
Mm.
They were just so happy that you were there.
Yeah.
They were so proud that you were visiting the country.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know, just inviting you, cooking for you at their parents' place and stuff. Or like when we arrived at school, you know, they gathered the whole school and the principal was making a speech and then they were calling all of our names and we were like little children.
Yeah.
But like they were saying all of our names and one after another got on stage and they were like cheering
Wow.
like crazy.
Yeah.
And we were like, what the fuck? This is the best thing ever. You know, the whole school was celebrating that you're there. It's just like so much celebrating life and
Yeah.
celebrating the moment. Like, yeah. So we were like, oh my god, because they went to our place before. We were like, oh my god, this is embarrassing. Because for us, it was just another exchange. It was
Interesting.
actually the first German-Botswanian exchange ever.
Wow.
But like we were just like, okay, we had other exchanges. Now
Yeah.
the Botswanians are
Another
here.
one.
But there was no ceremony.
Wow. Okay.
So,
I mean, a good example to that is like, for example, when you finish university, that is a known huge celebration that takes place. You
Yeah.
get it in the mail, and it comes even folded, not even properly put. Like, come on, man, it's my degree.
right, right. And you have to sign up to something which comes English.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
sign up either. In America, it's a huge celebration.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Same thing with us. That's also what I was used to. My parents were like, "Yeah, we're gonna come to your graduation." I'm like, "No."
I
There's
don't
none of
know.
that.
Yeah. My parents were actually the same.
Yeah,
I was like, I don't know.
yeah. You'll get it in the mail. That's it.
Yeah. Is it still recording?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
I want to
because-
double check just in case. Imagine we're not. Wait, I don't want.